Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'll call to order the Lake Havasu City regular meeting on Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 at 5:45. I apologize for our tardiness. We had another meeting that went right up to this one. Thank you for joining us. We'll now have an invocation led by Pastor David Bybee with Christ Chapel, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vicki Hart with the Troop Box Convoy Annual Car and Bike Show. Pastor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's always a blessing to be here at the council meeting. Seemed like I missed the big meeting. I don't know, but I'm glad to be here. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, maker of heaven and earth, this evening we humbly come before you in the name of the one who suffered and died for us on the rugged, bloodstained cross. Thank you for our blessing of freedom and liberty as Americans. We earnestly pray this evening for our beautiful city that we may flourish as a haven of family, enjoyment, retirees, spring breakers, keep them safe, and all who abide in Lake Havasu City. We pray for safety, meaningful, fulfilling living, and spiritual nourishment from our houses of worship, and give our council tonight wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, thank you. And then, Vicki, if you actually could just get the microphone and face us. If you could get in front of the microphone and face us so that the cameras can pick you up.
I'm not used to this.
Yes, so Vicki's with the Troop Box Convoy Annual Car and Bike Show. If you could share a little bit about that event, we'd appreciate it.
I'm an officer of the American Legion Auxiliary, local. And since 2018, we have sponsored this car and bike show because we send care packages every single month to deployed service people. Postage is now up to about $1,000 a month for us, and that doesn't count the goods that go on the boxes. So in 2017, a small group of us got together and decided we need a real fundraiser to support our cause. Postage was a whole $500 then, which we thought was a lot. So we get a name of a deployed service person, no matter where they live or where they're from. We send them a package monthly till they write and say they're headed home. So we started this show. The first year was 2018. We have grown each year until last year. We lost a few cars. We were a little bit smaller, but we're still going strong. It's free to the public. It's at the American Legion in the swap meet parking lot. Spectators have a ball. Food and drink is served by the American Legion itself, which helps support our veterans, because auxiliary wouldn't exist unless we each had a veteran in our family. And so they get all the funds from our food and drink that day. We have live music. Good old Fritz, that most of us know, plays for us. He volunteers that every year for us. And after the show, he says, "Can I play next year?" So absolutely. It's a fun day. We raise good money. We say if you bring goods for our troop boxes that day, and I can text you a list of all the goods that can go in them. You bring us goods, we give you some free raffle tickets, and we'll have about 70 large baskets available this year that you can put those tickets in and hopefully win a nice basket. We do a 50-50, which is usually a few $1,000s to the winner. It's from 9 to 3. Cars start pulling in about 6 in the morning, and it's a fun day. The spectators love it. The car owners love it. We'd love to see all of you here at the show. I've got flyers and a few posters if anybody's interested. I don't have a lot because they're pretty well distributed.
And Vicki, what was the date again?
March 28th.
March 28th. All right. You're looking for something fun to do? It's a great event down at the Lindenbridge Shopping Center.
And the commander gets to come and pick his choice of favorite car.
Yes.
Every year.
Yes, I do. Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for taking care of our veterans. All right, we'll move on to item 4, which is the roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell.
Here.
Kenny Cook. Here. Jim Dolan.
Here.
Cameron Moses.
Here.
Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Vice Mayor David Diaz.
Here.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here. Thank you. Item 5 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Koch,
motion.
please.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch. We have a second from Councilmember Moses. We are ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 6 is our correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 6.1, we have the fiscal year 25-26 second quarter contracted agency reports for Haven Family Resource Center. Chief Sterling included this in our packet, and it's also available online for citizens to review. Item 6.2 is to announce vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
This item is to announce vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The city currently has one alternate member vacancy on the Board of Adjustment. Anyone interested can pick up a packet at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website at www.lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.3 is our city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Merry Tuesday. Let's go and get started with the congratulations to one of our dedicated and long-term employees. I'd like to congratulate Ed Godwin on his retirement after more than 20 years of dedicated service to Lake Havasu City. Throughout his career in public works, Ed consistently demonstrated professionalism, reliability, and a strong commitment to our community. And Ed, we're very, very grateful for your many contributions and wish you very well in your well-deserved retirement. I'd also like to acknowledge the retirements of Detective Robert Shoemake and Detective Kenny Smith. Detective Shoemake concludes 19 years of service, and Detective Smith retires after 18 years of service with Lake Havasu City Police Department. Throughout their careers, both demonstrated exceptional courage, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to protect and serving our community. Their bravery and dedication have made a lasting impact, and we're deeply grateful for their service. We wish you both very well in your retirement, wish you well in the next chapter of your life. Just last Thursday, I was joined by Chief Palafis and Chief Sterling as we attended the Tri-State, they called it a Shake and Bake Significant Event Readiness Forum, or short for acronym for SURF. It took place in Bullitt City. There was about 70 professionals in our region represented public safety, emergency response, hospitals, schools, and other agencies that would be called into action in case of an emergency. The forum focused on strengthening regional coordination and identifying gaps across the disaster response continuum. The simulation was based on a 5.8 magnitude earthquake that takes place in the Topak area, impacting the surrounding areas, including Davis Dam. Many of us may not think that this is a realistic scenario, but there is an active fault in this area. I believe it's a medium, which is about a 10% chance over the next 50 years that an earthquake could take place there. We heard from geologists who were invited to the forum about the active earthquake faults in our region. Whether it's an earthquake or another catastrophic event, we need to be prepared in the region. We talked about mutual aid. We talked about mass casualty, mass property damage, regional power outages, communication failures, flooding, roads. What if the bridges and the roads are out? What if there's no fuel with the shortages of power? Shelters, mass evacuations, and other similar situations. How do we react and protect our residents and our community here in Havasu? And how do we provide neighboring partners and agencies with the resources that they need to save lives? These discussions help ensure we remain prepared and aligned to respond effectively to significant events in the region. And I'd like to thank the chiefs for attending, and I also like to thank the Mojave County Emergency Manager, Mike Browning, for coordinating this event. And I'd like to recognize our very own Human Resources Director, Dr. Roberta Kimmelton. She recently testified on behalf of veterans at the U.S. Capitol in her role with the American Legion. Representing veterans at the national level is both an honor and a responsibility, and Dr. Kimmelton's leadership reflects a deep dedication to service and advocacy. We are incredibly proud of you, Dr. Kimmelton, and your continued support for those who have served our country. Congratulations to the graduates of the 14th Annual NOVA program. NOVA equips fifth grade students with essential life skills, strengthening decision-making, resilience, and leadership before middle school. We had 404 fifth graders in the Aquatic Center. They represented the Unified School District, TELSYS, and HPA, and completed the program. And through their efforts at these schools, they completed the program, which was hosted by our Lake Havasu City Police Department. Lots of dedication coming from leadership, the chief on down, including our school resource officers. So really a fantastic opportunity for our dedicated law enforcement professionals to connect with our fifth graders and talk about life choices and what it means to lead your life with accountability and integrity. Congratulations to all those who attended, and great job to the students, of course. We recently celebrated the completion of our brand new fishing dock at Site 6. If you haven't been out there, please get out there and take a look at it. We were joined by Mayor Sheehy, Vice Mayor David Diaz. We had our chamber ambassadors, city staff, and lots of community members. Anglers United was there as well. We all gathered to mark the latest enhancements to one of the most popular waterfront destinations. This project reinforces our commitment to improving safety, accessibility, and of course, just the overall experience for our residents and visitors, enhancing quality of life. Once again, I think we thanked him about 8 times at the ribbon cutting, but once again, I will continue to thank you, former District 3 Supervisor Buster Johnson, for your support on this project and identifying the funds coming from Mojave County. And of course, thank you to the Board of Supervisors as a whole. And special thanks also to our Public Works project management team and our Parks and Recreation teams for bringing this project to completion. So how great is this? On March 7th, Jean Grancy Butterworth celebrated an incredible milestone. It was her 105th birthday. Surrounded by family, friends, and community, Councilmember Michelle Lynn proudly presented a proclamation declaring March 5th, 2026 as Jean Grancy Butterworth Day in Lake Havasu City. What an extraordinary celebration and a truly remarkable life. Congratulations and happy birthday to you, Grancy. On February 28th, Lake Havasu City recognized the Seroptimist International of Lake Havasu City and the Chamber Foundation for Education and Leadership with a proclamation during the 5th Annual Southwest Chowderfest, honoring their lasting contributions to education, leadership, development, and community service. And the picture shows, oops, sorry, a little technical. There we go. The picture on the left includes Mayor Sheehy, Vice Mayor David Diaz, and Councilmember Koch, who presented the proclamation to the organization. And pictured on the right are participants of the 6th Annual Rick Seals Veterans Ride to the Bunker Bar, joined by Mayor Sheehy and Vice Mayor David Diaz, as they recognize the occasion with a proclamation. Lake Havasu City is very proud to be home to a strong and dedicated community of veterans whose service and sacrifice have preserved the freedoms that we now cherish and sometimes take for granted. Now in its 6th year, the Rick Seals Veterans Ride continues to unite veterans, families, supporters in a meaningful expression of gratitude, camaraderie, and enduring support. Team Break is coming up quick. If you haven't registered, now is the time to do it before the slots fill up. It'll take place between March 17th and March 19th. We have 3 action-packed days filled with games, activities, inflatables, water slides, game trailers, all of this for the local teens in Lake Havasu City. And then there'll be opportunities for participants to earn prizes, including a brand new jet ski. So if you haven't registered yet, and please go to our website at lhcaz.gov/fun. And we'd like to invite the community to attend the Vietnam Veterans Day event on Sunday, March 29th. It'll take place at the Friends of the Fair Rodeo Grounds at Sarah Park. Doors will open at 10:30. So please mark the calendars now and plan on joining us to celebrate our Vietnam veterans. Join us as we honor all who served, and we'll have some food, some good company, and music. And no RSVP is required. Just please join us. And lastly, we now have a date for our next household hazardous waste collection event. It'll take place on Sunday, April 18th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it'll take place where we always host it, which will be at Fire Station 2, which is located at 2065 North Kiowa Boulevard. I said Sunday, Chief. Is it Saturday? Yeah, so I apologize for that. My notes do not reflect the flyer. So it's going to be Saturday, April 18th from 8 a.m. to noon. So please take a look at that. And we want our household hazardous materials out of the landfill. We want them out of the desert. This is the time to get rid of your paints, your tires, and all those items that don't belong in the landfill. And of course, they definitely don't belong in the desert. It's all free for all residents. Just show a valid ID that shows that Lake Havasu City address. If you want more information, please contact Republic Services at 505-7410. And with that, Mayor Shee, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. We'll move on to item 7, which is our public hearings. This evening, we have 4 public hearings. During each of the public hearings, we will have an opportunity for citizens to engage in that conversation at that time. We ask that you just make your way to the podium, state your name for the record, and state your comments. At this time, we can have a two-way conversation. At the end of the meeting, we will have a call to the public. That is where citizens will have an opportunity to address the City Council on items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City, but we can't have a two-way conversation at that time, but we can listen intently. So we'll start with item 7.1, which is ordinance number 26-1379, amending Lake Havasu City Code section 3.20.4040, schedule of fees and service charges, to add and revise fees and service charges for payment, restoration, utility permits, and special events. Ms. Olson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is to add some fees to the current master fee schedule. The Administrative Services Department is the facilitator of the process of getting these fees to you for potential adoption. We have the fees associated with the recent amendment to the code related to the relocation and location of facilities and public works right-of-ways. And there are some additional special event fees that will hopefully have a positive effect on encouraging these special events. And I will turn it over to Ron Foggin, Public Works Director, and Anthony Kozlowski, the Assistant City Manager, to provide you with some additional information.
Thank you, Ms. Olson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's wonderful to be with you today. We recently brought forth the ordinance. We have referred to it as the street cut ordinance. This is really the second step to trying to keep folks from digging up new pavement. So we're proposing to have new fees that are issued as part of cutting into new pavement. 0 to 5 years is the time frame in which we've identified for those fees. We also just did a general increase for street cuts increase that. It was pretty minor, not really covering inspection. We're going to be adding inspection, pretty heavy inspection to our road cuts. It's probably the most devastating thing that happens to our roads. And so this is just another step to try to protect new pavement, first of all, and make sure that road cuts are being done properly throughout the system. So that's what we're doing with the road cut fees. So.
Thank you, Mr. Foggin. Sure. Yeah, Mr. Foggin.
Why did we only do the 0 to 5 years? Because some of our roads haven't been touched in 10 years plus, and I've seen some really bad cuts where they drop due to the, we don't have a lot of base under most of our roads that we had that the sewer was in. So on top of that, when we're cutting into these for utilities, why are those not as important as the?
Just as important, although what we're trying to do is protect new asphalt from being cut. And so kind of the best practice industry standards are to look at pavement that's been put down in 0 to 5 years. But frankly, road cuts and the attention to road cuts has been stepped up over the last at least year and will be now focused on, you're absolutely right, compaction, ensuring compaction happens. A road's only as good as the base that you put it on. You can put asphalt anywhere, but it's not going to last if the base isn't good. So the new program and the ordinance that the council approved will actually get all of that done. But as far as putting the pavement back, if we put new pavement back, we put it down, we want new pavement back as good or better than when we started. So that's the 0 to 5. But road cuts are going to be something that we're on top of no matter how old the road is.
I would recommend that moving forward, any road cuts should be held at the same standards, because
100%.
You're still putting asphalt over the top of it. You're still digging into the ground. You still have a compaction issue. And most of the people in the room probably don't know this, but when we did the sewer system throughout the community, we decided to save some money and we didn't put any base down. So that's why you see a lot of road cracks throughout a community in the newer area. In the meantime, as our roads are aging out, we will have the mills and the fills over the top of them, and we'll have a longer, especially with our early pavement preservation programs that we're doing. But clearly, the only thing I see against this is I don't like the 0 to 5. I think every road that you're cutting into utility should actually be addressed with the compaction and proper base.
Mr. Knudsen.
Mayor and Councilmember Campbell, I think you'd be pleased to learn that the same standards will apply for compaction and the patch and what that looks like, including the inspections done by the public works staff to make sure we're on top of it. Some new inspection tools were just purchased for this effort. So that's going to happen no matter if it's a 0, brand new asphalt, or it's a 20-year-old road or plus. When we start talking about the 0 through 5, Mr. Foggin is talking about a brand new road is going to cost more for a contractor, property owner, or applicant through the permitting process. If you cut into a brand new road, it's going to cost you more than cutting into a 6-year-old road, which is going to cost you, you know what I mean? So that's what we're talking about in terms of the 0 through 5. But compaction, how those cuts are handled, we're turning the corner in Havasu, and the expectations are much, much higher.
Well, most of our community is already built out, so residentials are already there. So when you do have to go back in there and do a cutout, it's beneficial. But I've made my statement. I really think this should be open to all roads, not just 0 to 5.
Councilmember Campbell, so yeah, all of the roads will be done. What this is that this is an incentive for roads that are brand new up to 5 years for the utilities to work with us prior to us doing a mill and fill there and doing any of their underground infrastructure. If they don't do that and they have to cut into the roadway from 0 to 5 years, they're paying this additional fee on top of compaction and new asphalt in that area. For roads 6 through 20 years, or they're doing all of the same things. They just don't have to pay a premium or a fee on top of that. They still have to do the compaction testing. They still have to put down the new asphalt and meet all the requirements of the ordinance that the council passed at our previous meeting. So all of the roads are being treated the exact same. The only difference is there's a premium charged on any new road from 0 to 5 years to try and incentivize those folks to do all of their underground utilities before we even lay down the road.
Well, I've seen that in the past where there's no communication between the contractors and the city and the new build and the architects and the engineers. You know, I've had them all running on top of us midway and slowing down our project because they're like, oh, I need to do this now. So I understand that, but it does start on the front end as well. Those conversations need to start at the front end. So basically what we're saying, though, is a brand new road that's down with maybe brand new infrastructure. There's something that happens. And I would certainly hope if we have water main breaks as well, that the city would continue the same protocol that we have in place. Okay.
And so that, all that changes now with the ordinance that we adopted. So
right.
City will be treating ourselves the same way that we'd be treating it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Foggin. Mr. Kozlowski, if you want to speak about the other fee.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. These special event fees are truly a great way for the city to continue to support current events in the downtown as well as future events in the downtown by reducing the overall cost for a street closure on Main Street, as well as continuing to drive additional traffic to our local business community in the downtown. What we've seen over the past couple of years that the fees associated with special events in the downtown has increased year over year, and by setting a fixed rate for the street closure and reducing the costs associated with police and fire will ultimately have a positive benefit for promoters in the downtown for special events.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Diaz?
And this probably goes beyond just the special events and closing of the street, but do we still give a break to 501c3s for event fees and permits?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Diaz, as far as those events are concerned, I believe we do give a break as it pertains to the fee structure for the event application fee. However, as it pertains to the overall cost for a special event, each event goes through the cost for services breakdown. So they're based off of the permit they submit. Each department provides a breakdown of the costs associated with the event, and those event promoters are charged up front. Based off of the event itself, there could be a reimbursement after the fact based off of overall services and fees charged for that event. So there could be a reduction.
I would like to get some really clear clarification on that, because I've had some people that use the aquatic center and they're nonprofits and they say they don't get a break anymore. Just want to make sure that for nonprofits, I'm talking about, that we have a fee for them and a fee for people that aren't nonprofits. And if we do, I'd like to see what that looks like.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Diaz, as far as fees for the aquatic center, there is a different fee structure for nonprofits. This is simply pertaining to the costs associated with Main Street.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I just have a comment.
Yes.
And I did discuss this earlier this week with the city manager. I don't have a problem with either of these changes. However, I don't like that they're lumped together again. They're two completely, totally different things. And I know that we could motion this and that, but this is a pretty small agenda. I would have liked to have seen them separate. I know they're both about revising fees, but they're two completely different things. So next time we do this, I really would like to see them separated if possible.
So the next time we do this will be the main fee schedule, which is we always do in one lump sum. It would be here for days.
Yeah, I understand that, but this is an amendment. There were two things. They're completely two different things. Like, for example, Councilmember Campbell had a little issue about this part with the road thing, and she may be okay with the fees increases. So I'm just saying they're two completely different things. When we do the whole fee schedule, yes, we spend a lot of time, we go through all of them, we discuss it, it goes to another run, but it's a small agenda. It's two different things, so it just makes it easier as a council member to vote separately on them.
Any other questions or comments before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item?
I have like 3 or 4 questions, but the first question is for Anthony. What's the current fee to close down McCulloch, and what's the new fee going to be?
So the current fee as it pertains to closing down McCulloch depends based off of the size of the event. So currently for public works, on average, for a street closure, you're looking at about a $3,000 charge. As it pertains to fire and police services, those vary depending on the size of the event. So if we're talking Desert Storm, police services, which includes not just McCulloch, but the overall weekend, could be in upwards of about $10,000. So for on average, for a smaller event on Main Street for police and fire services, you're looking at about somewhere between $3,000 and $7,000. So based off of this new fee structure, they would pay 50% of that cost, and then substantial reduction as it pertains to public works and the cost for closing down the street as well.
So it increases the...
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, you have to talk in the mic.
It increases the price to the event promoter.
No, decreases it. Yeah, so it'll be, instead of like for Desert Storm in Mr. Kozlowski's example, being around $10,000, $7,000 of that being for public safety or the like, that now would be $3,500 versus $7,000, and the street closure would be $1,500 versus $3,000. So it would be reducing it about 50%.
Second question is, I'm not a construction person, but any new house that's built in Lake Havasu, typically the contractors run conduit underneath the driveways, so you don't have to sock out your driveway. Is there some particular reason why we can't just run like a 12-inch piece of PVC every 600 feet underneath new paved roads? So when a utility shows up, you could just say, hey, you don't have to cut the roads. We'll charge you $1,000. You just run right through the PVC. Like a little proactive instead of reactive on the street cutting thing?
Yeah, so now with the ordinance that we just passed, so anytime we are getting ready to do a mill and fill or a complete repaving of a road, we reach out to all of the utilities that have any potential work that needs to be done so that they can do that in advance of the new paving of the road. They go in and they do that. It just actually happened on Tacoma from Swanson to the highway. It just literally finished, and they have patched that in anticipation of us paving that road in the June, July timeframe of this year. So if someone was going to add a connection and they need to go across the street, they would have to go through the same process now. They would pay a fee if it's a brand new road. They would do compaction testing so that it wouldn't have that bump feeling that you have currently.
What I was suggesting is just putting 12-inch PVC pipes every 500 feet so that you don't have to cut the road up anymore. You would just say, hey, if you guys want to run internet lines through here, we have them right there every 500 feet. You can trench down the sides of the roads, but you don't have to cut up the roads anymore. PVC's cheap. They're already digging. It would just kind of solve the problem.
Yeah, it's not internet lines that we're running. It's usually water connection and wastewater and those types of things. But I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Good.
Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
My name is Rich Fountain. I'm president of Relics and Rods Car Club in Lake Havasu City. Appreciate the effort to help us with some of these fees for closing down the boulevard. We run the Run to the Sun car show. This will be our 48th annual coming up. We have raised somewhere around $1 million over the years, all stays in our local charities here in town. So it's very important to us. We've also donated around $10,000 to the city for sound attenuation at the Aquatic Center in the Relics and Rods Hall. Therefore, it's called the Relics and Rods Hall. So our participation with the city has been huge. I think when you look at what this particular event, plus all the car culture in Lake Havasu City, us, the Havasu Hot Rods just shut the building down. They picked up the old Deuces show. They're in the same boat that we are. Some of this stuff is open-ended for us. We're a 501(c)(3). We can't afford to get a $5,000 bill later. It just, that kind of puts us out of business for doing this. You look at the money that this event brings for the hotels, and, gas, food, restaurants, all add to city coffers. I'm sure over the years, the 48 years of this event has added a huge amount to that. We're also a major sponsor for the Veterans Organization for Troop Box Convoy. So Relics and Rods is very large in the city. I think, I'd hope you'd all agree with that. Our position is, we appreciate your efforts, but for the Run to the Sun, we'd like to see no fees at all to shut the boulevard down in view of the fact of what we bring to the city and have done for years and years and continue to do. Would like your consideration for that. I know it's a difficult position because of the other nonprofits in town. But with the age of this event and what this brings to the city, it costs us between $150,000 and $170,000 a year to put this event on. And all that money stays in the city coffers here. Every dime that we raise stays in local charities. Nothing goes to charities outside of Lake Havasu City. So I'd appreciate your consideration in this for Relics and Rods, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
Excuse me.
Yeah, Rich. Councilmember Campbell has a question for you.
Do you get any sponsorship or marketing from Go Lake Havasu?
No.
Thank you.
James R. Jimerson. I'm a resident here, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm representing tonight, I am the president of the Over the Hill Gang, also one of the newest members of an entity we started calling Havasu Hot Rods. Taking over what had been known as the Deuce Show in an area, not taking over the show, But this is the 11th year. We've also had an event that took place just 2 weeks ago. And we, as well as Relics and Rods, have contributed many, many dollars to the community over these years. I know this year, between the two of us, we're getting over $100,000 back to the community just out of our donations. That's a significant amount. We're not working from out of town. We're not vendors taking up the middle of the street and taking our money and heading off to another city or another state. We're right here raising the money for the community. Also, as he said, the amount of money it takes to put it on is significant. And that's all, again, working with local vendors and local people. We had 143 of our participants that came from out of the area completely. We know that. We've got them, not our snowbirds. We've got lots of snowbirds, but I'm talking about people who actually traveled here from Colorado, Utah, California, Nevada, Nebraska, and Kansas, and one from Florida. They spent a good deal of money while they were here. So we know we've increased your revenue considerably, and just want the same consideration that when we're putting on an event that's actually raising money for your community, our community, and giving back specifically to our community and not taking the money elsewhere, we do ask when you're looking at these rates that you take careful consideration in what it is. Any money we pay you is not going back out. It's going into your general fund. I appreciate that. But I can tell you, I can run the numbers really quick and show you that we brought a lot more money in 4 days than you paid for all the help it took to set those barricades up easily. No doubt about it. So just for future reference, keep us all in mind. Our car culture is very large. We're trying to accomplish a lot, and we'd appreciate your assistance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Knudsen, yes.
First off, I'd like to say that the Deuces, the Relics and Rods, the Run of the Sun, all these events are critical for the quality of life in the downtown, and we want to take a real close look at how the fees are charged. We do know the fees in the last couple of years were increased because we bought new barricades that blocked any type of high-speed vehicle that would come running down the street and cause harm to any pedestrians in that event. So we feel great about having that equipment. The problem was that it took Public Works that much longer to install the equipment, which then raised the cost of the events. So we wanted to make sure, we wanted to come back and take a look at that and see how we could reduce the cost of hosting an event in the downtown. Again, very, very appreciative of all the events that occur. But in terms of like the cost that comes back to the city, it doesn't sit in our coffers. It's a 100% cost recovery for every Public Works employee, every firefighter, and every officer that's part of the setup, the cleanup, and a part of that event. So those dollars are tied to that specifically. So if we have 5 firefighters that are part of the event and 4 officers and 10 Public Works, we've been charging 100% cost recovery for those man hours and woman hours for that event. That's been the case. What we're suggesting now is to utilize a flat rate for the Public Works, which will cut the Public Works fees down for the event promoter by more than half. And then we're asking for 50% cost recovery as opposed to 100% cost recovery for the public safety, police, fire, and Public Works individuals that are out there. So I just wanted to kind of just paint that entire picture. We can have conversations whether or not that the city should look at events in the downtown differently than cost recovery. Historically, it's been that way for lots of years at 100% cost recovery. It can be a little difficult because every event is a little bit different. Every one addresses is just a little bit different, but just kind of want to paint that picture in terms of like downtown events and what that means, the importance of them, and how the city recoups the costs that are associated with that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Knudsen.
Hi, Bonnie Toy. I had a couple of questions. One, I didn't understand, but when I thought Anthony had said that the price was being decreased instead of being increased, but then they were saying they weren't paying for it to be shut down, so that would mean any cost would be an increase. That confused me, and if I just understood what you said correctly, that instead of charging 100% of what the fee should be, you're saying you're not charging the whole price, you're just charging 50% of the price, which is still an increase of when they're not paying, when people haven't been paying before, when you're paying $0 and then now you're being charged $100, that's an increase, if I understand that correctly. I mean, if I had $0 and then had to pay $100, that would be an increase.
Ms. Toy, they were asking for it to be $0. They have been paying the cost recovery in years past. So they have been paying previously, and then the two previous speakers had asked for it to be $0 for nonprofits. So they have been paying, and it is a reduction in the current cost. Should this be approved by council, it'd be a reduction in the current cost that these organizations are paying for public safety by 50%, and for the street closure a little bit more than 50%.
Also, will this apply to more than just McCulloch Boulevard? Because, I mean, if our city keeps growing the way it is, you're going to have street closures elsewhere, maybe one day, I would hope, because Mesquite and Swanson really are no fun when McCulloch is closed down. If I could urge you to take it to the south side for a day, that would be really nice.
Yeah. So the fee we're scheduling right now, or the fee that we're considering right now, would be just for McCulloch from Acoma to Smoke Tree. That is the fee schedule. So we have a master fee schedule for all fees, whether you're going to rent a Ramada at a park or something at the aquatic center or a utility bill. This is only for McCulloch that we're considering this fee for.
Okay, and then the list of cities that were based, the comparison prices are based on, those are different than what the licensing fee comparison list was. And I was just wondering why the two different lists, why the two different cities, or all the different cities.
Sure. Yeah, Mr. Kozlowski, if you could answer that.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's very difficult to compare apples to apples when it comes to Main Street and our current setup compared to some of the other communities, especially in the Valley. So it was through my process, just kind of going through and reaching out to the different communities such as Scottsdale, Phoenix, and seeing how they charge their fees. In some instances, they were much higher than what we would currently be charging for our Main Street. However, they take into account many different areas of service as well as the amount of traffic associated with their streets within their communities. So it was a difficult balance of determining what would be in the best interest of Main Street in order to continue to support special events and promote those events and future events in the downtown based off of council's previous direction as far as we want more events in the downtown to promote economic development from our business perspective, as well as from our Main Street Association as well, who would like to see more events and be able to host events themselves in the downtown, and what would that overall cost be for them to do so. So trying to strike that balance was crucial as far as taking a look at some of those comparable communities, and that's kind of how we came to that.
Thank you, Mr. Kozlowski. Councilmember Lynn, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Just, it's kind of like process. What qualifies for the road to be closed down? Like, what kind of event? Like, can anybody just close down the road? I mean, what are the...
Sure. Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Lynn, currently in code, which we brought to council back in 2021, takes a look at 17 different criteria as far as what constitute a street closure in the downtown for special events. Currently, if you, me, and a couple of friends wanted to close down the boulevard, we couldn't. We wouldn't meet the guidelines as it pertains to special events based off of the 17 criteria within the code.
Would you mind, can you forward that to me?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
On this item. It's confusing for me. I have a question about the road cuts, okay? I think it's a good idea. I mean, we've all seen these guys, right? They come in, they cut the road, and 2 days later, you'd like to chase them out of town, okay? But I guess, is there a drawing that goes along with this specification? In other words, Tim Murray comes in and I got to run a 2-inch water main into a house. Well, I'm just going to make a 3-inch cut across the road. I mean, we're not going to get done. I'm just, maybe Ron can answer that, but is there there's got to be some type of a drawing or a document that people can look at, right, and say, here's the minimum standard. Maybe it's already there, but you don't want a guy making a 3-inch cut and then even attempting to get any kind of compaction out of that. So I guess that's my question.
Yeah, perfect. The reason that we're actually discussing is the council just adopted an ordinance that has those specifications in there. Mr. Foggin, if you want to maybe go through.
Too many years of reading that stuff, so.
Oh, I think you were at the meeting, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. But Mr. Foggin, if you want to maybe give a little more clarification.
Mayor, Council, so there is a standard street cut drawing that has to be followed with compaction requirements, levels of compaction that need to happen, and clear understanding for the bedding and everything that goes above the infrastructure that's being put in place. So that is part of our standards for any street cut. And there are different street cut widths that are allowed, and required repairs are covered in the ordinance that you passed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Foggin.
Minimum cut, right?
Yeah, Mr. Murray, if you can make your way to the microphone, please.
Sorry.
Yes.
There is a minimum width, right?
Correct. That's what Mr. Foggin just
said.
said.
The biggest concern that there might be there. You get it to a guy, some guy, he's going to do it with a 4x4 tamper, and that's going to get it. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor?
Councilmember Koch,
Motion?
please.
I move to introduce ordinance number 26-137, amending Lake Havasu City Code section 3.20.040.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch, a second from Vice Mayor Diaz. Is there any additional discussion? We are ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan? Councilmember Dolan? You might, Councilmember Dolan might have dropped off. Councilmember Dolan? Yeah, he may have dropped off, so we'll just let the record reflect that Councilmember Dolan is not with us for this public hearing. Okay, we're ready to vote now.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 7.2 is purchase of lighting improvements for Sarah Park Ball Fields 3 and 4. Ms. Vera?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you all for having me here tonight. I'm just following up on some previous meetings we had about maybe 3 or 4 meetings ago. We got the approval to update the 3 ball fields at Rotary Park, as well as fields 1 and 2 at Sarah. In that conversation, it was suggested that we look at possibly just doing and relighting all of the fields at Sarah. So this is us bringing this item back to council for your approval. If you'd like to continue and use contingency funds to fund the remainder of those fields this fiscal year, or if council would like to go ahead and add it to consideration for the next fiscal year's budget.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Vera. Yeah, I think that Councilmember Dolan?
Okay, I just disconnected and reconnected. I was talking last time, but it didn't go through, so.
Oh, so yeah, well, welcome back. Yes. We took the vote on item 7.1, but we had to take that vote without you as part of that. But it passed 6-0.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. So now we're on 7.2, talking about the purchase of the lighting improvements at Sarah Park using contingency funds, which Councilmember Dolan, you actually had made the initial comment about this. I think at the time, Vice Mayor Diaz had brought a photo that a resident shared with him and shared it with the council, and it was very clear the light pollution that was surrounding, and that doing those lights weren't going to solve that problem. So we're now here to consider adding and finishing and doing all of the lighting technology at Sarah Park.
Which we do have that picture that was shared, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council before we open up the public hearing? Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz.
So the original bid for the fields, not including these two, was how much?
Do you remember off the top of your head? $468,000.
This will be an additional for.
It would, be an additional 463.
Okay, and if we take it out of the contingency funds, what does that leave in the contingency funds?
So currently we have $763,000 in the contingency fund. Somebody's got their calculator. Won't be able to do that mental math off my head.
About 300,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that normal? I mean,
well, generally we don't spend contingency funds. It's there for a contingency or an emergency. So in this case, it's we're about 3 months from the end of the fiscal year. It would be prudent for us to be able to do that if that was the case.
That's my next question. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, motion.
Councilmember Moses?
Yeah, I motion to approve funding this fiscal year. I move to approve the cooperative purchase of LED lighting improvements for Sarah Park Ball Fields 3 and 4 in the amount of $463,000. Authorize the use of general fund contingency funds in the amount of $463,000 for fiscal year 2025-26, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents on behalf of the city.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Moses. We have a second from Vice Mayor Diaz. Is there any?
I have one comment before we
please
vote. When do we expect this to occur?
Yeah, Ms. Vera?
So our park superintendent has already been talking to the manufacturer. They can start this as soon as contract has been signed. We already have started the process with getting the contractors out. So we're phasing the project so we don't really have to shut down any fields. So it's not going to impede any of the practices, any of the games that we have scheduled with our user groups. And we were reassured that it would be finished this fiscal year.
Okay. And I remember Councilmember Moses made some good points about timers or how lights go on and off. Is any of this included in this?
Yeah, so Guy Reynolds actually spoke to the manufacturer as well too, and it's something that we believe that we can actually tie into this as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell, then we'll go to Councilmember Lynn.
This is a lot of money. This is a whole lot of money, and the fields need a lot of attention. And just the other day, I was at the Nova graduation, and as I was pulling into the parking lot, you guys are going to get tired of me saying this, but the parking lot has more crack seal than it has actually asphalt in it, which means to me, I'm always, what does this look like? First impressions. I'm going to be dropping my kids off here. They're going to be, and the first impression is potholes and crack seal. And again, if I vote yes on this, or if I vote no on it, it's basically because, again, it's the shiny object. It's like disregard the potholes in the parking lots and that have literally injured people and sent them to the hospital. So again, yes, I'm the roads person. Yes, I see this more than everything else. Yes, we've had the same lights for a long time. Yes, in the budget we approved, I don't know, the 463 to do what we wanted to do. Makes a lot of sense. I already know Mr. Reynolds and I have had some conversations about how the company is actually helping to reduce the price. I mean, really have done some great work in the background, making sure that this price is as tight as it possibly can be. But it's really hard. It just, and when it comes to parks, everybody's emotional. Oh, I'm emotional. And my kids play in the field or whatever it may be. But in the meantime, we have roads and infrastructure that are absolutely failing. Yes, we are addressing some of them, but it's bigger than most of you guys realize. So this is a big ask for me. So if you see a no, we are already doing the first half, right? The first part. Correct. And then the second here says to be approved in next year's budget. But can you tell me, I know that parking lot was on a couple years back, that parking lot at Aquatic Center was actually in the budget to get done, and then it just disappeared. Can you tell me more about that?
So I'm going to defer it. I was not here when that project was taking place.
Mr. Knudsen, would you have any background? So I don't know of anyone that got hurt and sent to the hospital from our parking lot. Are you saying that that's a possibility?
Yeah, down at Rotary Park, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with that at all.
Yes, Rotary Park, absolutely.
Rotary Park, not the aquatic center? You're talking about
It's inevitable. I mean, no, I've
Okay, so
heard
just
that.
for the record, it's
Go look at
inevitable
it.
that
Did you look at it at the Nova?
I've seen it, Councilmember Campbell, but that's different than someone going to the hospital from using our parking lot. So inevitable is that's a fair statement to say. I just want to make sure we have that clarification. Mr. Knutson, would you have any background from Councilmember Campbell's question or comment?
Mayor, Councilmember Campbell, I don't have that immediately in front of me, but I know we've had conversations about Rotary Park. I'll have to give me the opportunity. I can send that information out to the council after this meeting.
Yeah. So are we talking about the aquatic center parking lot or the Rotary Park parking lot?
I'm talking about the aquatic center parking lot. When I was over there at the Nova, It is absolutely embarrassing that we have more crack seal than we have actually asphalt in the place. And yes, there is potholes. And studies have proven that off of main roadways, more injuries happen in parking lots, personal parking lots, than they actually happen in roadways. That's what I'm trying to say. Sure. So yes, balls, lighting is important. I know that some people said they've been hit in the face by balls because they couldn't see them because there wasn't good enough lighting. I can get that. But this is a lot of money, and we're deferring again, infrastructure issues that are dangerous to people as well. So I look at this as a maintenance issue because I'm a big believer of stop building stuff if we can't maintain what we already have. It's simple. I don't go build another house if I can't afford to maintain the one I have. So I'm looking around our parks and I'm seeing a lot of need for improvements. But emotionally, we love baseball and we need to light all the fields up. So let's spend $1 million right now. And that's what we're doing. We're just pulling it out of the sky and we're going to throw it out there. And it's a long-term planning thing that's really starting to frustrate me. And the extra work that goes into it, we didn't originally ask the staff to do all that. And then they had to go back and redo it all. So we just need to be a better advocate of planning and moving forward. So I'm on the fence on this one for sure.
With all due respect, it was planned. So what we planned to do the ball field lighting this year. The initial cost estimates came in that didn't allow us to do fields 3 and 4. This item's back in front of us at the council direction to do so. So there was planning involved. The staff brought back what they could afford based on what the budget numbers were that we approved. And then by direction of council, that's what we're here today. So just for clarification on how that went down. Councilmember Lynn?
Yeah, I just have a question. I don't really like using contingency funds because it is emergency funds, but I just had a question. If we were to defer it to the fiscal year 26-27, what would that timeline look like if we vote tonight to keep it, we use the contingency funds, we would do it when, and if we waited and it was approved in our budget, what's that time frame?
We would just have to get an updated quote for procurement to make sure that we're following procurement laws, but we would still be able to get it done then in that fiscal year. We could probably get it done within, maybe first 2-3 months of the new fiscal year.
So what is that? What is that month?
So like July.
Like if today we voted yes, when does that start? And if we waited for the fiscal year, when would that start?
So if we went ahead and we said yes today, we could probably get it done, started in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
And then if we waited for the next fiscal year, so July 1, we could probably get it done within the first, between July and August.
So it's only a difference of about 5 months if we waited. Is it going to be more complicated because we're starting the first fields?
No, I don't foresee that being an issue. Guy, if you need to jump in, but I don't foresee that being an issue at all. Our biggest thing was the impact on the user groups and making sure that we weren't impacting them. So even how Guy and his team has been working on it with Musco is just kind of one light pole at a time, getting it done. So by the evening time, they can light back up. So instead of just hitting, 3 and 4 poles at a time, we're doing 1 pole a day, getting that done, getting those new lights installed. So then it's good to go for the evening for the participants.
So I guess I'm also looking at the time. So if we did it now, our days are getting longer. So we don't really need the lights necessarily right now on at that later time. I don't want to say no to this because I want to do it, but I don't like using the contingency funds. And if could we put it in the budget for 26-27? I mean, can we do that?
That would be what the option 2
Yeah, we didn't see that though. We haven't seen that, but could we do that? Mm-hmm. And then it would be in the Parks and Rec budget?
Mayor and then Councilmember Lynn, So that would be an item that would go through the budget process.
Mm-hmm.
We would have a work session, budget work session. We'd come to council for projects.
Yeah.
And then a conversation would take place at that time. Mr. Reynolds, I guess I would have a question for you if I can. The delay in between the installation of the ball field lights between now and if pushed to July or August in the next fiscal year, is there any savings that we wouldn't realize based on just mobility and the workers are out there, that kind of thing, or is that quote good for that duration?
Thank you for that question.
Two possible savings, which should be realistic. The company's already been out for Rotary Park. We met with the contractor. They've given us a construction timeline in less than 2 weeks to do that entire 3 fields. I just received the contract timeline and information today for Sarah Park 1 and 2. If we were able to tie this in, we could probably get this into production right away. So when they're out there this year, they get all 4 of those done at the same time. The companies they're bringing in, they're working simultaneously. So 2 different contractors working at the same time, Rotary Park and Sarah Park. I don't anticipate if we waited that there would be any cost difference in the material. There would just be more waiting and rescheduling for the same contractors to come back in and finish the project.
Mr. Reynolds, if I can, Mayor, we would expect a higher cost and for the labor. You're not the contractor, and we're just assuming a few things and a little conjecture here, but just want council to understand both options clearly.
Yeah, and it's always the possibility we're going to wait 3 months, and then the cost could go up somewhat. We did get an extension though on the current quote for 3 and 4 to go into July 1, so we do have that lockdown for July 1. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. So I'm probably going to vote no on this just because of the contingency, not voting no on this because I'd like to see it in the next budget. So I kind of want to explain my vote. So I'm not voting no on it. I think we need it. I just don't like to use the contingency funds. And if we can get it done right after the 1st of July in that budget, I don't think this council is going to vote no on that during the work session. So I just want to explain my vote.
Mayor, I'll just follow through. I appreciate the conversation that we had. I understand project management, and I am understanding that it probably will come in at higher price. And seems like, as I look around the council, that there is a majority here that probably are going to support this. And so I'm going to change my vote to probably a yes. I'm not a probably yes, a yes. And that is only because it just makes logical sense. We're going to do it anyways. We might as well get it all done at one time and through the summer and be ready to go next year. And it's a learning curve as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz.
Just for clarification, I think they just said if they're going to hold the price till July 1st, which is the next fiscal year. So that, right? For the materials.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the budget goes into effect on the 1st, but we want to be able to move that quick.
They'll probably raise the labor on it or something, yeah.
So, yeah, Councilmember Moses?
No, I had the same concerns I think we all have the same concerns, right? Contingency is supposed to be there in case there's emergencies that come up. So as soon as that was mentioned in the last meeting, I immediately started going to work on, what does that look like? How many months are left? And so I shared some of those concerns. We only have a couple more months left in this budget for any emergencies that might arise, and I feel comfortable with that. So with that, I turn it back to you.
Are there any other comments? We do have a motion from Councilmember Moses. We have a second from Vice Mayor Diaz. Is there any additional comments before we vote? All right, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. All right, item 7.3 is job order contract task order agreement number 3 for fiscal year 2025 to 26 chip seal program with Cactus Asphalt. Good evening, Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, it is everybody's favorite time of year. As we go into the end of April, we will start the chip seal program. This year we have increased it quite a bit by almost $900,000. We're laying down almost 875,000 square yards of material and looking forward to getting some work done. This should take place at the end of April, first part of May, and be completed by the middle of May. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
I move to award the JOC Task Order Agreement Number 3 for the fiscal year 2025-26 to chip seal program to Cactus Asphalt in the amount of $1,997,451.20. And I'm going to apologize in advance for everybody that's going to have to deal with this, but it's something that we all need, and this is good for our city.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Campbell. We have a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 7.4 is discussion and possible direction regarding request for qualifications process. Councilmember Campbell, this was an item that you requested, so I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, why don't you chair this one for me? Yeah. That's what I was concerned about earlier. That I thought when there was motions to discussions, that the council member would be the one that's chairing it. So,
okay, so let me clarify that for you. So, if you work through my office, I chair the meeting. If you work through the public process at the end of the meeting, then the council member that requested it would go ahead and facilitate that. I'll still be facilitating the conversation. You're going to be giving the report. So,
all right, we're all good to go, and I'm ready to go too. So, that's good. Why did I bring this to our attention is because when we had the pool build, I had a lot of concerns and questions about the RFQ, and I'm not going to get into it too much other than the fact that I was under the understanding that an RFQ should, and state statute says an RFQ, and mind you, there's an RFQ that says request for quote. That's different, but we were asking for a request for qualifications. So sometimes people get that mixed up. So if you say RFQ, they think request for qual. But if you go and look at the scope of work and you look at the RFQ documents, you would have seen that it was definitely a request for qualifications, meaning this is nothing more than an application. This is literally saying this is a scope of work that we want to have done. And I won't even use the pool idea, just anything. This is exactly what we want. And no different than if a designer, a contractor, a client comes to me and they say, I want 3 bedrooms, I want a 1,800 square foot, I want an RV garage, I want this, I want that. We're going to put down as much information as we possibly can, and then I'm going to do my best to prove to them that I'm the person for the job. That is all a request for qualification is. State statute says that there should never be any form of communication in regards to fees. Nothing. Not hourly, not time, nothing. It's clearly what is the application process. State statute absolutely says in a request for qualifications, there is no financial. Next, what do you do with a request for qualifications is you go and get an outside board that's supposed to, not outside, it's an inside staff usually comes together. They pick their steering committee or whatever you want to call it to review the request for qualifications. Let's just say applications coming across our desk. I am XYZ, I'm John Doe, I'm this. These are all the jobs I've done in the past. This is what I'm capable of doing. This is why I want the job. Nothing more. Never once are we going to ask, what do you think the price might be? None of that is allowed. What you're supposed to do is ask for just pure qualifications of the job. Nothing further. So with that being said, next would be once those, and the other big item that's really important with that with that group, that the in-house usually staff does that. You're supposed to have one outside contractor, designer, architect, whichever you want to come from outside. It's mandatory to have an outside voice that is not part of staff. If at any particular time you swipe out that person's opinion, the RFQ becomes null and void. How do we know any of this is happening? Why do we have procurement in the first place? Because we all want transparency. We had a big conversation early. Transparency is what we all want. We want to make sure that contractors don't have special interest. I am very upset of constantly hearing, oh, Councilmember Campbell or all of us up here are, pocketing millions and millions of dollars. Well, I know what I get. I get my $1,000 check and I pay for my own medical insurance. That's what I get for working for you guys on a regular basis. Then when my family does do bids, which is actually more or less an RFQ, which is a request for quote, you guys, they all come in here. And it's a sealed bid process. The public all gets to sit here and go, open up an envelope, who gets the bid? Whoever the lowest bid is gets the bid. There is some contingency on local bidders with a few 2%, 5%. I'm not going to get into that right now. But all in all, that's the way a request for qualification or actually where a bid process is. We just did it with Cactus Asphalt. We got to see in our book all the different prices. And we did what? We just approved the Cactus bid. Requests for qualifications should never move forward on procurement or quotes or bidding until the request for qualification is approved. I'm under the understanding that I thought our procurement stated that that's part of it in our city as well. That we're supposed to come up here and say, here's the request for qualifications. These are who did them. You guys approve for us to move forward. And when they move forward, then it goes into a bid process. That's the next thing. Design. What is it going to cost to design it? That's when the contractor gets the approval from the council that states, it is good for us to move forward. The whole council up here voted unanimously, or maybe some of us did or didn't, that we thought this was the best qualified person. So then from there, then the bids start coming in. We've already approved that they're the best person. We've already up here, all of us, agreed that this is the most qualified person. Not one, not the other. David's not really good friends with the guy. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But all of us, we as a majority, we vote this contractor in and we allow them the leeway. I know for a fact at the last RFQ, that particular contractor was informed. It's a done deal. You have the RFQ, move forward. They leveraged over $10,000 to get here to start measuring things because they were told it's a done deal. Unbeknown to them, they were quite shocked that that was a hard no for all of us, that we're going to push it back into the next budget session. Not good. As a contractor, I would like to know why I was denied a request for qualifications. I do understand that there's a letter that goes out, but I was surprised when I was told the letter doesn't tell you why you were denied. That's very strange to me, because if I was the designer for a job, a government job, which I would never be, but I'm just saying if I was, I would like to know I was disqualified because of X, Y, or Z. So then maybe I could become better. And when I do another government job, I'm aware of it, okay? But in this case, it's just requests for qualifications. So why am I here today is I started researching it, and I found out why is the format is a gold standard for municipalities. It provides transparent scoring. And if you want to put that up, this particular one, Kelly has it for the rest of you to see, and Mr. Dolan as well for you to see at home. Why is the format? Yeah, so. Okay, okay. The next one, please. Let's start with why is the format? Yeah, let's see if you have, sorry about that. Okay, why is the format is gold standards for municipalities? Why is it considered a gold standard to be transparent with your RFQs? Number one, transparent scoring. Now, how it's done in the staff level, due to procurement reasons, there is a lot of protection. And there is, that's why you have a team that are overseeing it. But when it comes down to the scoring mechanism, it's transparent if it's under the gold standards, which I'm going to get to next. Written documentation for procurement files, defensible possible for protest. Same thing. Why wasn't I elected? Obviously, Cal and the contractor are best friends. I saw them eating dinner the other night. This is the way it went down. No, it's very, very transparent. All of this documentation is very transparent, and all of us can go to public records and review it. Second, what they do try to hide is the outside voice, the outside what's the word I'm looking for? The outside person that the contractor, let's say, or architect, that's actually a contractor in town or an architect in town. It's pretty normal to try and hide who that person is so that people aren't going to them and throwing them in the midst of elected official public persona. It's defensible process for protest, easy public record compliance. But what's number one? Clear ranking for council approval. State statute states in many municipalities, and all of us can do it individually, but why, if you go with the gold standard, why they do it? Clear ranking for council approval. Let's go to the one that you had prior to that, which is having a city council approval, the final request for qualifications. You can read it, but I wanted Mr. Dolan, Councilmember Dolan, to see it as well. Having a city council approve the final request for qualifications in Arizona municipalities ensures transparency, legal compliance, accountability. It allows elected officials to confirm that the RFQ reflects community priorities, follows state procurement laws, and mediates risk of bias or disputes. Risk of bias or disputes in the selection process. Council approval also provides an official record of authorization before public funds or resources are committed. Why do I say that's important for all of us up here? When we're getting accused of doing something shady on the background, it's very public for all of us. And if you think by one way or another that we tend to just be always picking this one person over and over and over, it allows transparency that you, the elected, can come to me and say, that's kind of a bad look. And can you tell me what was the scoring mechanism? So if you would go to, and again, it came out a little differently. If you would actually click the link for your gold standards, go back to, one of these. I mean, there's a whole bunch here, but if there was a link, then you would be able to see that the link says for gold standards, okay, there it is, the RFQ evaluation sheet. This is public knowledge. So again, you see the firm's qualification and experience is 25, pro team qualifications, relevant project experience, project understanding and approach. These are normal RFQ evaluation sheets, no different than what we just looked at when we were paying $2 million for a chip seal. We get to see it. Then if you have somebody that actually applied for that RFQ said, hey, wait, I don't really like that scoring mechanism. They can come to the dais and have a conversation with all of us. We can then ask the staff, what is that? What happened there? And it happened recently when somebody was denied because they said they didn't have an in-house engineer, is what I heard. And according to all the other contractors that I spoke to after the request for qualifications, none of them had an inside engineer. So this is why I'm bringing it here. I'm just asking for our city to do the gold standards of RFQ process, which the only change that we have here to this is no procurement or request for quote goes out unless this council approves the actual resumed contractor, architect. Not every one of these projects are like this. We don't get in the weeds. We don't go talk to people. We wait for everybody to do the work, and no different than what happens in a typical bid process, just like we did with Cactus. It comes to us, but instead of dollar amounts, and if I ever hear of an RFQ coming up with a dollar amount again, it's against state statute. So the bottom line is when the qualifications come out, we can see a clear example what gave them the qualifications. We can give certainty to the community that we as a council agreed that this was a good contractor for Lake Havasu City to do this project. This is nothing more. It's really quite simple to me. That's why this is here. It's a small change, but ironically, I think we already have it in the process, but I haven't been able to get a straight answer for that. So here is about as clear as I can do for you. Hopefully you like the way I chaired that one.
Thank you.
And let's, start the conversation.
Yes. So all of the procurement is guided by Chapter 34 of state statute, which you went over with that. So the selection committee, it can have an outside person, but it also can have in-house folks
It has to have an outside person for an RFQ, or if it's considered null and void.
Yeah, no, it can be. It has to have an engineer or an architect, but they can be on staff.
Yeah, no. When you said about the steering committee, that's actual steering committee on all RFQs must have an outside.
Selection committee.
Okay. Yeah, not steering, but.
So are you
If
asking,
you think about it.
so are you asking for the process to happen and city staff go through the process that Ms. Singleton went over with us a couple of meetings ago?
Right.
That all happens.
Right.
And then they bring us the RFQ with the scoring mechanism by the vendor and we approve that? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. And basically, the only thing here is the staff is going to recommend, hey, this one scored the highest and this is the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's any debate or confusion amongst other contractors, they should have a two-way conversation with us who are going to approve it in the first place. This is no different than when they have to do, you saw all that scope of work that the staff did. That's not us to decide what street's getting chip seal or slurry seal. We're not going to do any of that. All we're asking is a public transparency that other communities in Arizona have taken as a gold standard, because nowhere should staff alone do all this procurement information behind closed doors and then just tell somebody you're a shoo-in no matter what, go ahead and get started on the project. And that absolutely did happen.
So the change that you're asking for is that the process happens the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they choose when the selection committee chooses the winning or the highest scoring person on the RFQ, that comes to council for council action. That's
Right.
what you're asking.
And you will see an RFQ evaluation sheet, and they'll redact anything that is not pertinent that we cannot have out private.
How many RFQs do we do in a year? I don't know if Ms. Singleton, how many RFQs do we do in a year?
Ms. Singleton can maybe help us with that. We'll put her on the spot and ask her some questions, but very, very busy throughout the year. How many solicitations, RFQs, RFPs, requests do we put out each year?
In the past couple of years, we've done 7.
7, okay. So in last couple that was last year, you said, or last couple of years?
The last 2 years.
2 years, okay.
So I guess if I can follow through, 7?
Doesn't matter.
RFQs. So like so solicitations. If we're talking about just RFQs, or are we talking about RFPs? How many solicitations do you put out? It's hundreds. Like how many solicitations does your office put out every year on average? Would you say?
I would say 100, or more. Yes.
Are you saying that you put out 100 RFQs or just soliciting contractors or vendors to come work for the city?
If we're talking formal solicitations, then like 100. But if we're talking about informal solicitations, including in that, then I would assume it's probably like 300.
Okay, and I'm asking that how many RFQs did you you originally said 7, but now
7 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that is it. So again, why they're going to say, well, that's not many. What does it really matter? Well, I'm just asking for gold standards of procurement, which basically says, what does it matter then if it's only 7? We're not jumping through a lot of hoops unless you just want to say, well, Nancy's bringing it to the table, so we're just going to deny that. But that's not what I'm saying.
Campbell, I still have my questioning. So you're making an argument against what I'm trying to learn. So Ms. Singleton,
I'm not saying you.
Ms. Singleton, so on those 7 RFQs that you do, the process, as I understand it from what Councilmember Campbell had just mentioned, would there be anything that would not allow for you to have your selection committee on those 7 RFQs we've done over the last 2 years? The selection committee picks the highest ranked vendor or supplier, and then that comes before council. Is there anything that would prohibit that from occurring in state statute?
We do take the evaluation ranking to the council with the top evaluated firm, and then make a recommendation to award the contract. I did some research with other cities, and I did not find any other cities that take it to council prior to us going through the negotiations for the pre-construction on requests for qualifications.
So all of those 7, the council was able to see all of the firms that may have submitted to be part of those 7 projects individually. We were able to see those rankings when it came.
No, they were not. Those were not provided as part of the packet.
Okay, and for what reason is that? Could that happen? Could they provide that?
Some cities provide it and some cities don't provide it. There's a fine balance in regards to confidentiality. We don't want to disclose information if the award is terminated or, it doesn't go through. Then it's considered a canceled solicitation. And we don't want to disclose that information if we're going to be going back out for solicitation again.
So of the 7 that were over the last 2 years, only 1 has been canceled?
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Campbell, did you have a question?
Well, on a request for qualifications, this is just who is qualified for the job. I will absolutely agree with you that if we're doing requests for quotes or we're doing bids and then canceling them and presenting them, that cannot ever happen. In this, I'm not even go back to the situation at hand, but realistically, requests for qualifications have no dollar amounts. The only thing that I've ever seen redacted from that is the actual, what is the word for it, that outside contractor, that outside general contractor or architect or designer. They usually redact their names for the sake of, they don't need to be in the midst of it. But yes, you, the procurement, you, the staff, will all agree that there was absolutely, and there is a scoring mechanism for that particular person in place. And I have heard from past employees that has been scratched out before, and that is a canceled RFQ. So all I'm asking for is transparency. This should be a very simple conversation. I think most people, unless there's something illegal, which I've already followed all the way through up to the state statute, and people there that have told me, absolutely, you're not asking for anything other than transparency and making sure, and the staff should be supportive of it too, because they're not the ones to be, I saw her having lunch with so-and-so the other day. What does that look like in a small town? So it's just a transparency issue, nothing more. And I don't think anybody can, at this point, you can't say that there's anything that I'm requesting that is against state statute, are you?
Just the confidentiality part of it. It's just a really fine balance in regards to what you're going to be disclosing before award. The state statute indicates that proposals and the detailed scoring of those proposals are confidential until after award. And it does say after award.
And who awards?
Award, it doesn't really say in state statute.
So can I ask,
we did not.
ask a question? So when you say proposal, that tells me price. But when you say request for qualification, we're just saying, is this company qualified to do the job we need to get done? We're not talking about there's no pricing anywhere. So is that what you're saying? When you say proposal, we're not talking about, tell me what their price is. And
sometimes the word proposal means qualification proposal or pricing proposal.
Okay, so in this case,
in this case, it's a qualification.
In this case, it's just qualification. Are you qualified to do this job? You meet all the criteria to do this job. And as I've always said before, we as elected officials, when things go sideways, we get the blame for it. Right. When everything's fine, we don't know, no one calls us. But
well, in looking at other cities, they take it to council once the contract has been negotiated, which at that time the contract is pricing, but it's only negotiated with the top evaluated firm. And I did not find where other cities take it to council prior to that time. So it's not like going to council to get authorized to begin negotiations and then going back to council to award the.
So how do we, and great info, you're a wealth of knowledge. How do we get away from situations that happen, and I will go back to the second pool. How do we get away from situations that happen when there was some contractors that were taken out of the equation because supposedly they did not have in-house engineers, and none of these guys, even the one that we told him no, but he didn't have an in-house engineer either. Mm-hmm. So how do we get away from that situation?
I was not aware that they did not have in-house engineers.
Well, he doesn't. Yeah.
But I think we need to be a little careful just because we did have some discussions in executive session regarding this particular thing.
We're not. I'm not talking about. Okay.
Like
for that particular item. Yes.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, Ms. Singleton, so we're talking about the RFQ process. We had proposals that came in. I believe we had 4 or 5 proposals that came in. And then 1 or 2 of those proposals were disqualified. Is that?
One was disqualified.
Do you remember why it was disqualified?
It was disqualified because they did not have in-house engineer or architect firms.
Right. So I just want to. That's the question.
And a letter.
I'm trying to connect
a letter
the questions
did go
between
out
the
to
process
them.
here.
And excuse me, but may I say that I met with Concord after for 2.5 hours, and they also stated that they absolutely did not have an in-house engineer or an architect for pools. So again, we're going to have an open discussion here. There's probably going to be some people that may want to talk about this in behalf of that. But the other part is that particular day, if this is what we're going to do, is we all were told that, but the price of the design was so much cheaper. We're going to go with Aqua and it was going to be $250,000, but now it's only going to be $180,000. State statute says there's no way that none of us should have been discussing that before an RFQ was not approved. And I'll hold that one. I mean, we all need to be careful what we're saying up here at this point.
All right, are there any other questions from members of the council on this item?
And so basically my direction would be is I am just your council person that has researched this high and low. I appreciate the procurement. I had thought she even said when we did the thing with all the contractors that it does have to go get approval before we move forward on any procurement or any quotes of any kind. That is absolutely state statute that it has to be approved. No dollar amount should ever be discussed. And so all I'm saying is, no dollar, maybe behind closed doors they are, but no, it has to be truly approved and has to be, I thought, approved by the council is what we're hearing. We keep hearing that it's supposed to be approved by the council, but it was not. It was actually moved forward and boxed into, can we move forward with this project? And it's an $180,000 design. And in the meantime, yes, Concord was quite shocked when they were already informed privately that they were going to get the RFQ and were already sending people to the aquatic centers. So there you have it. They will tell you it's all on record. You can see it with your own eyes. That is what happened. How do we avoid this in the future is be very strict on if we only do 3 a year, this is not difficult. Requests for qualifications, any part of this gold standard that I'm showing in front of you that has to be redacted, redact it. But I didn't get this from just nowhere. I got this from somebody that was in the state that gave me the information that I have in front of us.
Who gave that to you?
I'm not going there.
Okay, so you keep saying gold standard, but our experts are saying that no other city does that.
That's not true.
We are not refuting it. You're not giving us the information of where it came from. So that's no other city does it. And you had mentioned previously when you asked for this item to come before us, the city of Kingman does it. And I've reached out to the mayor of Kingman and also the city manager. They don't do it. They actually advise against doing what you're suggesting. So
I did reach out to them. They never returned back to me because I was going to call them directly.
Okay, so I did speak with them, we need to know where the information. I mean, you call it a gold standard. I don't know that it's the gold standard. So if we don't know where the information came from,
where are we having the disagreement with? Where's the disagreement? Is all RFQs supposed to go in front of City Council before we move on? Is that a yes or a no?
Yeah,
is it already happening?
Ms. Gary.
I mean, I think if you're asking from a legal perspective, let's put it in context first. So what I think that we're talking about are procurements that are done under Title 34 having to do with public buildings and improvements. And so that's very specific to construction, and it's very specific to employing technical registers. And so RFQ is a very general term and can apply to a lot of different things. So I'm going to kind of frame it in that we're under Title 34 for those purposes, talking about a request for qualifications. There's nothing in the statutes under Title 34 that requires an RFQ to come before the city council for approval before it goes to a solicitation.
That is not the information that I have on that at all. And she basically said, didn't we just all hear that the RFQ is supposed to go in front of, and then to go into a solicitation? That's fine. And the staff can do that, but nothing should move forward, nor should any of us up here ever consider requests for qualifications having a dollar amount. And yes, that I will get you, if we want to go for further discussion, I will get you all the information that says that if there's ever a request for qualifications where we are talking dollar amount, we were against state statute.
And nobody has said that we've done that. And so until, and Ms. Singleton can correct me if I'm wrong, when she made her statement just right there, I think she was talking about the award. After we go through award of an RFQ and it's at a certain level of threshold, then it goes to approval before the city council. So that's what we saw when the Main Street Commons RFQ process came through and the contract comes. Then once that recommendation is made by that committee, then that's what comes to the city council. And so that's what gets approved by the city council.
And there's nothing wrong with it not moving forward at all unless the RFQ goes in front of council. And before they move forward, you get approved by the council, then you go into the bid process. But at any particular time that we are talking dollars and cents in an RFQ process, or if any of our employees are having any sort of conversation of how much do you think this is going to be, when it's a typical RFQ process, they're against state statute. No discussion during an RFQ process should ever discuss money until the RFQ has been awarded.
No. I can read the whole statute to you. It's probably 12 or 13 pages long, but the process is that once we initiate the RFQ goes out. There's a committee that's put together. Those proposals are received back. The committee then reviews and scores those proposals, which may include just the scoring, or it may be interviews. Those are then scored. Once the scores are compiled, the highest score, then the agent, the city, may then start entering into negotiations with the highest score.
That is correct.
So now you can talk about price, okay? Because we've selected the highest score. We then start negotiating price. Once we come to an agreement between the parties, then the contract comes before the city council for approval. We outline in our council communication, here are the proposals that we received from X, Y, and Z. This one was selected. This is what we are recommending to the city council based on the selection committee and then based on the negotiations that staff had with that highest scoring proposer.
Are you saying it's illegal for us to go and be transparent and approve an RFQ before you start to discuss proposal with them after that? Why can't the city council? And again, if Kingman said he didn't, I didn't call me back, I'm going to still reach out to that because some of the conversation up here is some people were saying, well, an RFQ is a request for quote. Well, you definitely can't do that. You know, that's totally different. We're talking dollars and cents. But to sit here, I'm arguing the fact that it is other municipalities, without a doubt, it's a gold standard way of doing it, that they do want the city council to approve. And at this point, at no time should there be bias on a dollar amount for the next process. The next process starts then.
Okay, hold on just one sec. Let's go back just a step. So when you talk about the city council approving the RFQ, are you asking for staff will draft up an RFQ and then we bring the RFQ to council to review before it goes to solicitation? Okay.
Absolutely not.
So what you're asking for is that after an RFQ received the proposals, the scoring committee or the committee has gone through and done the scoring, you want the scoring then to come to the city council?
The final approval. Yes. Yes. And the reasoning for that is if the scoring gets up or the RFQ happens, anybody that's out there, which we are going to have people that will say, you told me I was not qualified because of this. Well, that person that you approved doesn't have that. And I have the proof to show it to you. Don't you think you and I should stop that before we go, oh, go bid the job anyways and keep going? That's what I'm getting at. I'm not trying to be difficult here. It's a simple request for qualifications. It is a real thing. I have state procurement people that have absolutely stated that this is a very good way to do it for exactly what we're talking about. If you start using the same contractor over and over, maybe they do have the best qualifications. Maybe they do follow all that. And at any particular time, I can go and request for documentation through the procurement. I can find out all these numbers and all the scoring if I want to. Anybody can go get this information. It is not private. The only thing that I said over and over now, they may redact the one outside contractor, architect, or whichever for personal, just unless that person says, I don't care, put my name down there, that I don't mind. But sometimes people will be professionals from the outside and they just don't want to be in the middle of the politics, but they were asked to be a part of this committee. So this is nothing more than that. It's a very simple request for qualifications that other people do. And again, why is it okay that right now I can go back and request all the requests for qualifications prior to, if I want to, or why isn't it just in our package? We get delivered a lot of contracts, information, a lot of documentation. At no way should, once the bid is out there, we do what? We pick the lowest bidder. I don't even think we have the ability to, I don't even know how that works if the council would say, well, I'm not going to pick Cactus because I want the next person. There is a procurement issue there that allows this to happen this way. And when it comes to requests for qualifications, you know, if they want to go ahead and tell the contractor, hey, go ahead and get started and send all your people here and spend $10,000 in mobilization and you're starting to measure buildings before the RFQ is even approved.
I think that contractor is doing that by risk, but Ms. Gary,
they're aware of that.
Mayor, Council, I think staff, we're happy to look at anything additional that Council would like to provide. I can tell you, I've personally searched, Lynette has personally searched. We can't find any other city that reviews the scoring before staff brings back a contract. And so the concern that I have with that is just after the committee goes through the scoring and they score and you have the highest proposer, and then we take that to council, what does council think that they're going to do? So there are very specific rules on what happens during this scoring process. And so when all of those are being followed, when everything's being graded, when all of that's added up, and then you have this list and you're bringing this list to council, the only thing that we could do was to start over. I mean, council wouldn't be able to look at that list and say, I don't agree with the scoring committee or how it was scored. I want you to give this person more points or take points away from a person. You can't do that. I mean, then you are now messing with the integrity of the scoring process. So we wouldn't want to put council in the position of looking at something and then wanting to possibly change that or insert themselves into that process at that point in time. So, I mean, we could give it to council and then you could tell us you don't like it, but it would have to be a good reason. Otherwise, we're just going to get a protest. And so I think that's the concern of inserting council in at that time is what exactly do you want to accomplish with that? And I understand your concerns and I understand that there were some questions that came up with that one procurement, but we've done so many other RFQs in the past that didn't have those types of issues. And so, And if there's something that we can't uncover through the process or didn't know, thought that they had an engineer on staff, and then it turns out maybe that they didn't, and that wasn't discovered during the process. I don't know how council would have known that.
Because the staff the constituents come up or the contractors come up and complain or dispute the fact that they were denied and they are very aware. That's
assuming that everybody is aware of all the facts at that point in time.
Well,
so, I mean, I don't want to argue. We're happy to look at additional information. If we have it, we don't have any other cities that do that. If you want to provide them, we will be happy to look at that.
I will give them the information.
Councilmember Moses.
Yeah, can I ask a question, please? Would it be appropriate to provide those scoring sheets with so not disrupting the process that we have now, but still being able to see those scoring sheets as part of the final proposal of seeing of every, you know what I mean, of everybody who has scored, this is why they scored the highest, and we could at least see that in the final once we've already awarded it and then sent them to go get to come back with a design bid.
After it's been awarded, yes. Until that point of it being awarded, it is possible that it could come to council and for some reason not be awarded, or something would fall through and we'd have to start negotiations with this next person.
That's how that goes. Mm-hmm. And so if there's a debate or a confusion and then it comes back and the council says, go back and reevaluate those numbers and come back and explain to us why the concerns happened.
If I may, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to be clear, because I'm hearing something different from you, Nancy, than what I'm saying. And I just want to figure out what's really going on. You want to bring back the proposals and the scoring sheets and then award them and then let them go get a prize for it, which is not what the RFQ process is. You're proposing a hybrid of it. The RFQ process gets the highest qualified person available, and then we say, yep, it's yours, and then you go out and figure out how much it's going to cost to build it. We do that for specific reasons. But as part of the process, so I've never seen those scoring sheets from the RFQ. I would agree with you there. I've never seen the scoring sheets for the RFQ. Could we see them? I mean, is it enough? Would it help you and help all of us? I think it would. But I don't know if it's legal to see those scoring sheets when we get the bid back, when we actually bid, say yes or no to the contract. And this is just all the things that we sifted through to get to this point. Is that appropriate? And actually, am I distinguishing? Do you see the difference of what I'm asking? But is it appropriate, Kelly?
Are you saying before you've made the award? You want all that information before you've made
So nothing changes. The city still awards it. We'll kind of say, hey, you're the most qualified. You're the best contractor, the whole pick. You get to work. Tell us how much it's going to cost. And then when you give us when you come back to us, say, hey, this is what the design contract's going to cost. These are their estimates, yada, yada, yada. And here are all the scoring sheets for why this person was actually the best person available.
I think there's an argument of whether that's appropriate or not, and just for the reason that until the contract is awarded and signed by both the parties, it's not done.
Well, they shouldn't even sign that night.
Yeah, awarded is approved by council. You move. The council has moved to award the contract to, or approve the contract to X, Y, and Z for ABC.
But as it stands right now, the selection committee picks the best and then says, okay,
mm-hmm.
It's you may not use those words awarded, but you say, okay, you won the RFQ. You're the most qualified. Bring us a design contract, and then we will award it. And then council may or may not award it. Can we see those the scoring sheets at that point?
I say there's an argument because until the contract is signed and approved by council, it's not final yet. So there's still a possibility that something could fall through until everybody has signed it on the dotted line. Yeah. And then we would have to go and start negotiating with the next one on the list. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible, and we could definitely talk about that between procurement. I don't know that that's common to do that either until you're all the way through the process and then to release that information.
And what I'm saying, in an RFQ, we are picking the top evaluated sheet number. These items are in front of us. What I would like to say is the reason why the last contractor ran out and they did it at risk was to come out and spend that money and start measuring and everything. So because the staff said we were in a rush, so let's go ahead and move forward. And that's where we got the $180,000 in front of us as well. Look what happened to them. They were shut down and sent back because we were not approving the RFQ. We were approving their design bid of $180,000 based on this RFQ process.
That happened because we demanded that the staff go through the RFQ process, which enabled them to pick the most qualified person. And then, so they went out and did what we told them to do. And so your whole thing is you just want to make sure that they're the most qualified person.
Right.
And so, we should be able, it kind of doesn't matter at that point.
It does. The transparency and honesty for everybody is very, very good.
Well, no, like as long as you get to see it and it gets to be proven to us that they're the most qualified. Then
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, go ahead and tell them, we should never be in that much of a rush on anything. Then go ahead.
Microphone, Councilmember Moses.
But what I'm just getting at, as soon as we are going to probably take staff recommendations. 90% of the time we do anyways, but they should at least be transparent on the process. We get it in front of us. We approve the RFQ, go ahead and get started. Contractor feels certainty that everybody up here, there's a majority that agree. Even the staff is thrilled because there's none of this gray area that we've all heard about. And I am not saying there is gray area. And then what happens? It's the council, we're all in bed with the contractors and that's why they got it. And it's Michelle Lynn and bottom dinner, these are the crazy stuff you hear behind the scenes. And we don't want to do this, but I'm not asking you to do anything that's jeopardizing the city or anything. This is a legal thing that you can do. And it's should be a part of the RFQ process. And without a doubt, the staff should never be decided an RFQ based on a dollar amount of anything. And most contractors in this town that I talk to will tell you that they would prefer a design build as well. Because when we were going to go with Aqua to just pay the $250,000 for a design, every poll person after the RFQ, because I do understand the process, came back and said the 90% of that would be thrown in the trash. Good example is the contractor Concord, who built the downtown Catalyst, didn't like the overall design, would have changed things, even went to the engineers and wanted them to change it, which then I heard they didn't. So here's a good example why most people love design build, and this all got convoluted a little bit about this RFQ process and everything. But realistically, if we hire a very qualified contractor that we all agree is a good person for the city to move forward with, we should be able to trust them to hire the architects, the engineers, and whatever they want to follow the job all the way through, because then at the end, they're the ones responsible for maintaining something. For instance, the cracks in the sidewalks at the Commons are due to Concord did try and stop. For most of you guys that don't know that, Concord did try to go back to the engineers and get that fixed, and it wasn't fixed because the engineer company was hired by us outside of them. So there's a lot to this. I'm not a layman on this.
Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor. Yes.
So I feel like a hamster now going in a little circle.
Yeah.
So, but good points. I think everyone has great intentions here. I would request by you, Councilmember Campbell, if you would work with procurement and with City Attorney Kelly Gary and yourself, and then gather some more information on, you say there's some cities that are already doing this, and just get it all together, and then we could do a follow-up discussion at a next council meeting. Does that make sense?
It does, but I do want to admit that there are people that have worked here before in our city of things that they were concerned about, and how much do I really want to be throwing everybody under the bus right now? I just want to be very careful of what we're doing. This is personal. I'm trying to keep it near and dear to my heart because they're saying there's no reason why this RFQ process cannot be approved by the council. And they said that's what happens, and then move on to procurement. That's the only two steps we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Nothing more.
Campbell, and to Vice Mayor Diaz's point, you'll go with a small committee, work with procurement, work with Kelly Gary, and kind of work through all of those things. And you can do that right now. Transparency is utmost important for all of us. We had Ms. Singleton give a report going through the process for procurement, how we do it, following state statute. Statute even goes into where the highest score that scores on that from the selection committee, say once that's determined and they go into negotiations to bring a potential contract for council's consideration, it might fall through and they have to go to the second highest score. And those types of things come through. It's very detailed on what we can do. So I would recommend as well to work with Ms. Gary and procurement, come up with whatever it is you're looking to do that would accomplish what your goal is, and then bring it back for council consideration for a future meeting. So I don't know if we can do it by the next meeting, but you guys will get to work.
And never in a million years did I think this was going to get this complicated. And if we could take it out open to the public too, I want to hear from other people that
we're going to open the public hearing. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's effort on this. It's a good conversation to have.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yeah. Can I, this, what we have up here in this RFQ evaluation sheet, is this the standard? Is this what goes out? This right here? Is this what our RFQ looks like?
Oh, I don't know where that's from.
Okay.
The gold
What does
standard,
ours look like?
I don't know what that's from. As far so ours is like we follow the state statutes. So under Title 34, we follow the state statutes. There's a whole section of statutes. I can send you one of the sections that outlines what the process is. It's not easy to read. I'll be honest.
I just not understanding. I've never done an RFQ, so I don't know what an RFQ looks like. So I think my question is every RFQ different per project? Are they different? They're different? So that something that's for a pool is different than a park? Like, I mean, is it different for each one?
There's a template of what everything fills in, but all the information is different depending on the project. But there's a process. Like there's an evaluation, there's evaluation sheets, there's evaluation criteria that's set up for each RFP. They're not all exactly the same.
Okay. I think where I'm going with this, and I don't want to go back into passing, is having some conversations with some of the contractors that had a challenge with this RFQ process was they didn't feel that some of the requests didn't seem appropriate for an RFQ of qualifications. That's where I'm asking you that. The reason some of them didn't feel comfortable turning in is because they didn't feel like what was being asked was appropriate. So I guess I'm asking you on the projects, how do we come up with that evaluation and what we're looking for? And I don't know if I don't know whoever does the RFQs, like what you're asking. Because
selection committee.
Yeah, because I think, we've said this has never come up before and now all of a sudden it's coming up. So was it different for the pool than it was for other projects?
Well, I think the only thing that was different from the pools, council members were involved with contractors directly, which is the least transparent thing that could possibly be. That's really the only thing that screwed the entire thing up for that.
In defense to that, when we have contractors asking the council about the RFQ and not understanding going online to do it or knowing who to contact, they had to contact a council member to say, who do I contact? This is the problem I'm having. They didn't know, should I contact the city manager? I don't know if they knew that. So it was the process that they were confused on. So in defense to that, contractors were coming to us because we're the council and we had to give them some kind of direction.
Yeah, we can lead them to our procurement team versus sitting in their office and doing designs.
Okay, but as a council member, I didn't know that was the process. Yeah. Nobody told me that until just recently.
Yeah. So the RFQ, like the actual solicitation that goes out, it outlines all of the criteria, the selection, but then it also says if you have questions and it tells you exactly who to contact.
I'm just going to say there were contractors that had a challenge with doing that process. They told me they had a challenge doing that process, reaching out to get the information they needed.
And the pool was a complicated RFQ.
That's what I'm asking. Why was it so much complicated than other ones?
Process that we had to use for the type that we were asked to do.
The council asked for that, the design build.
And with all due respect, it went out and then it closed and then reopened again 4 days later. And that's when I looked at it and said, why all you people came and talked to me that you want to build a pool and you want to be a part of the process, but then you came to me and explained to me what you're having problems with, which I did direct all to our city attorney, and our city manager was very, very aware because I was staying out of the conversation. At the end, when they didn't show up, they just said couldn't get the right answers, didn't work. So now we're talking not about this RFQ process. I'm saying we had a problem with the last one. There's some issues and there's some transparency issues with it. And there has been some transparency issues. Even in that last meeting with the pool meeting, there was a lot of conversation at the dais here, that could have looked like we perceived it one way or another because of a certain contractor. And so again, there is a lot of us. I think there's one thing that we can all agree on up here. When a project goes south, we get the blame for it as if we were involved in it. Like we had our hands in it all the way down to the bottom, and we did not. We absolutely did not. We depend on the staff to do it. We depend on the staff to do a good job with it. And in between, this is absolutely a simple step that I didn't think we were going to go into a 2-hour conversation on this, you guys. I really just thought this was going to be, hey guys, before we pick this resume, let's just make sure that everybody up here likes the company and we're all super happy and we can move forward and give certainty to the contractor as well that we as a community supported him and we as the council, nothing more. And
just a big departure from what every other city does. And
that's not true. I'll have
from what our city attorney.
Which cities, Nancy?
I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to do more.
You can't just keep saying nope.
and then not
Because I
give
want to go back
evidence?
to the people that
What
gave
city?
I will go back to the actual people that told me, the one that also told me Kingman, but now you're telling me not. But I have a phone call into Ken Watson. I will follow through with that, and I'll follow through with my.
I'm open to going along with you, but like you're not bringing evidence, and I would love to.
Because I didn't think I had
follow up.
I didn't think I had to be the biggest research person here. I will get you all of the information, and I will not tell you the person's name or the people's name for the sake of respecting them. I will get the information and go do what David Diaz said and Vice Mayor Diaz said. And Vice Mayor, I never thought that this is a real thing. This gold standard of doing this is a real thing. And I got where
did you come up with gold standard?
It's called gold standard of.
Did you just Google gold standard?
No, I did not.
So whose gold standard is this, and where did it come from?
I'm not going to tell you the person's name.
Yeah, so I think we have some suggestions on how we'll work offline.
Information you need
Before we come back to cancel. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address City Council on this item? Yeah, please. Yeah, just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi there, I'm Taylor Harrison. Good evening, council members. I've been sitting here for half an hour thinking I was going to get an answer to the question, and then I'm really confused as to what to even ask at this point because there's been so many questions. But Nancy, I appreciate the transparency aspect a lot, and I feel like I should kind of know, like I'm relatively familiar with the RFP process, and I'm a contractor myself, although not to the scale of pools. So I'm familiar with giving somebody a bid or a proposal, right? So I go over there, I present myself, and granted, a lot of that comes with my Google reviews or the reputation our business has, obviously being a licensed contractor, right? All of those things, which I understand that the council isn't going to approve or city staff isn't going to approve an unlicensed contractor to do jobs, right? So my question is this. In my line of work, I'm not the only purveyor of hot tubs in town. I'm also not the only installer of misting systems. I would say that Neat Pool and London Fog Outdoor Cooling Solutions are also qualified companies to do exactly what I do. I'm not the only qualified company to offer what I do. So I'm curious, and I'm just not understanding, I guess, because I'm all about transparency. I'm also all about saving taxpayer dollars. I'm also about hiring qualified individuals, right? But this RFQ process, if I'm understanding it correctly, we're basically saying if you're approved the RFQ, then you are awarded the job before even getting into financial. So it's like saying, interviewing somebody for a job and saying, yep, you got the job before even talking about salary. And so to me, that opens up the door to saying, yep, you passed the RFQ, this is for you. And then the contractor to say, oh, well, it's me. So now the bid is what I want it to be. And I understand, hopefully, a business has more integrity than that, but I think that opens up the door to that. So am I understanding it correctly? One, that if they pass the request for qualifications, that they are then the contractor for that job, because you can't talk finances at that point. So that is when if what I'm understanding correctly is that is where you're selecting the contractor then.
And they'll be able to tell you further. What you did was like we do. That staff puts together, I want a spa. And this is a spa size, location.
No. So what we're talking about under Title 34, I'm sorry, with the selection committee and not being able to talk about price, that's only under Title 34.
That's RFP. So that is price. RFQ
price, yeah.
is not
so can
price.
I continue?
So I'm so sorry.
All I wanted to say, I wanted to answer his question because I do understand the process. It's no different than what we did with just Cactus or an asphalt job here in town. The staff gives us a whole total scope of work. We put out a bid and it's the lowest bidder that wins it. So yes, you're qualified to put in spas. We know that. We know exactly what we want. We know exactly where it goes. Now, let's just say I want to hire somebody to design this building. It doesn't start, you have to start somewhere. You have to start with somebody going out and requesting the qualifications, like how many people are qualified to have built this building, because we did it. that way. And then we identified the one, and I'd go into the council, go into the city manager's office, and he'd say, this company actually showed up, and these, and these, and this is the one that did the city, the one in Kingman. So you see, they all give you like brochures telling you how, showing you jobs that they've done before to be qualified to bid on this job. Because the next part of bidding is very expensive to do something like this. You've really got to dial in with the employees and really spend time doing that. So that's what makes it different. And yes, at that point, they're the first to qualify. So the next person in line gets, they're the ones that are going to get it. And yes, that's where some people get upset because they're like, oh, well, that guy got $10 million to do a job that I could do $5 million for, but they had to go through this qualification.
Right. So
we're using up his time.
I'm sorry. Right. So I guess, and maybe Kelly was going to answer the question is once you choose that person for the RFQ, are you then locked into that contract? Because it doesn't have to be one, there's not just one qualified contractor to build this place in Arizona. There are several. Right. So once you approve that, are you just locked into that one contractor then throughout the whole process is my question.
Through the scoring mechanism.
Through the highest score would be the first person that the staff would negotiate with.
But the other people are still welcome to submit bids as well.
No, they would negotiate with the top.
So then we are locked into that unless you start the process.
Not until it gets to council and council adopts it. Once council adopts it, then they're locked in at that point.
Okay.
Can I just emphasize the fact that this is not Havasus process. This is state statute with 30, 40 pages of how we have to do this process. So if we're going to create a different process, we would definitely create a different process, although there are some intentions that are true in terms of trying to identify the most qualified people to do the assessments and the selection, engineers and otherwise. But this is I just want to make sure that we understand that this is not Havasus process. This is state statute. So there's a selection committee that scores the proposals. So we get in and the proposals are received, and then there's interviews that are conducted. There's 2 waves of scoring that's done, and then based on the 2 waves of scoring, there's accumulation of the scoring. We identify the top and most qualified firm to first have a conversation with, and that's what the state statute process is. So then, if we negotiate with that number 1 firm that's scored the highest, and then we go, you know what, your price is way too high, your understanding of the project is below standards, then we cease negotiations with that firm, and then we can go to start a negotiation with number 2. But only after we send a formal notice to number 1 saying we're done here, this is over and done with, and we're going to now talk to the firm number 2. It's not the easiest way to do it. It's a very convoluted way to do it, but that's state statute.
It does help clear it up. You just wouldn't have another proposal to compare it to, essentially, because you wouldn't have a best and lowest bid. You would have one proposal. You would have one proposal.
No, we have there's so there's like with 5 proposals come in, they each get scored. Here's the highest. So number 2 is ranked number 2 and 3. They're all ranked. So all 5 are ranked.
So they all come in at the same time. It's just the RFQ gets seen separately from the RFP. It's not like one after the other.
And that's where everybody's getting confused again. In an RFQ, there should be never a discussion about a price. There isn't. Right. Should never. That's illegal.
That's the one part of this conversation.
So like if I looked at all of your resumes, if I look at all the resumes and I see that you've been in the community and this is all your information and you send me a beautiful little brochure and you rank the highest, we have to just walk in the door and go, okay, Taylor, we're trusting you. You know, the whole staff, we all agree that you were the most qualified. You checked all the boxes and it's very intense. Like procurement will tell you all the things. They'll check all your insurance. They'll check all the things. And then at that point, that's where we're at.
I dare say I'm slightly clearer. All right.
Okay. So, but a request for quote is very different. That's totally different. And that's where people got kind of confused too, because it says RFQ. RFQ is a request for qualifications, or it could be request for quote. So that's how sometimes people were like, I thought it said quote, but it got a little weird. Okay. It got a little convoluted.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? Just make your way to this podium.
Hi there, Martin Stansbury, Lake Havasu City. I just have 3 comments. One, I hope it raises some questions with each of you like it does for me, that we can discover that one contractor didn't have an in-house engineer and other one didn't. That raises a lot of questions. I don't know what the process is, and I'm not trying to get into the process, but that should be something we research. The second thing is, I know you've had conversations about not getting enough local contractors to bid work. Well, if you're going to disqualify a contractor but not tell him why, you're not going to get him to come back to the job. I mean, at least got to say, hey, because you didn't use the right kind of paint, or you didn't have enough local. You got to have some excuse. You're not going to get them back. The third issue that I have is, obviously it's state statute now, but it makes no sense to qualify one contractor and then negotiate with them. From the private sector, which is I'm from, I would set a minimum requirement, get as many people over that minimum requirement as possible, and then negotiate with all of them. So, but government doesn't operate like a business, and that's why you guys get stuck paying so much for what you have to do. But I hope that question about that engineering thing gets investigated.
Thank you, Mr. Stansberry. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item?
Hi, it's Bonnie Toy. I just wanted to tell you guys thank you very much for having this conversation. Although I still don't understand it, and I probably would be able to understand it more if I was in the lake. But yes, as someone who a long time ago used to own a business in town, loved going out and cleaning people's floors, but I never ever attempted to do anything within the city because I didn't know how I could do that and be qualified. So I do believe that the whole process is, Mississippi's probably clearer in that process of helping people to understand it. I just would hope that somehow through this, also would like to suggest maybe if you would, for the city to take Lynn's not episode, but her conversation that she had in that video that night. That was a long meeting. Wasn't that the 5-hour meeting? If you could have the person in charge of your Facebook or YouTube take her section of it, that there's a way to screen video that section, and then you could post that, just her section of discussing the process for other people to at least be able to listen to it and understand what she had discussed, and it might help. I just wanted to suggest that and say thank you. And yes, I still don't understand it. I'd probably be safer in the Mississippi.
Yeah. Thank you, Bonnie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Don Wisdom. I'm really confused. I guess I'm not the only one who's confused. You're talking about finalizing the highest ranking person, the best person to do the job. So how do you get bids? If he's the best one, what is the bidding process for?
Yes, they do a request for qualifications. It's only happened 7 times in the last 2 years. So we're talking about real small sections, all of our procurement. But that's all the qualifications and scoring for the qualifications of the particular vendor is one component. And then the next component is then they'll start the negotiation process with the highest ranked vendor and then go to
Did we do that on this building? What?
Yes, because we used a design build for this building.
So you had one developer all picked out, so there's no sense of anybody applying.
No, other folks did that. Yeah, so they went through. They just didn't get the highest qualifications when it came to awarding the contract.
And Mayor, just
Would there be some? Can't even find a bad word. Of contractors not wanting to bid here because of the BS.
Yeah, as Knut's mentioned, this is not Lake Havasu City's issue. This is not Lake Havasu City's code. This is state procurement code. This is an Arizona state law. So if
it gets worse.
No, we're following Arizona state law for the procurement code Title 34, which we have to follow by law. And if anyone was going to bid on any public facility in our city or any other of the 92 cities in Arizona, they would have to follow this very similar process because this is a state statute.
And
does that get changed periodically?
If the state legislature changes it and the governor signs it into law, yeah, it would change.
Governor.
Yeah. It starts with the legislature, then goes to the governor.
And Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, Mr. Wisdom, the most difficult part about this is we do bids all the time that our lowest bidder comes in. Yeah. That's where the community saves a lot of money. Where we get into this problem is when we're designing something, we need to have a set of plans. That's why this happens this way. So the way to get, like, you have a house plan, right? And then you send your house plan out to bid. But we got to start with who's going to design the house plans. And that's where we're at. What company do we trust to design the house plans? And ironically, those companies and most companies want to be design build, because if they're the ones that are designing the construction documents, they like to be the one that bids the job. And other contractors, like on big projects like this, will look at this and go, this is going to cost me 3 times more because they over-engineered this section or over-engineered that section. So that's why this is different than typical. Like she said, probably 300 or more of their proposals that they get through the city are done through strict, I need this F-150 pickup truck. What's the cheapest price? This only happens when there's a design or architectural plans in place. And what happened with Concord and the downtown Catalyst, you have a contractor that says, yeah, I wouldn't have designed this park to look like this. But in the meantime, we picked the designer, we put an RFQ process out for them. We asked who was the most qualified to do a park build. They got it. We paid them, I don't know, $175,000 for their documents. Then we took those documents and then those went out to bid. Is that correct? I think those went to bid. No, they didn't. They still.
That's design. Sorry, Mayor, just to put it out there. So we're talking about design build, RFQ, which is Title 34. Design bid build, which is one extra word that's in there. That's where you go and solicit a design. You get the design, and then you take that design and then you put that out for a bid.
Yep.
Then contractors were going to bid based on the design that you already previously procured.
Right.
What we're talking about for the pool and for the courthouse and other aspects is design build.
Right.
Not design bid build. And this is language coming out of some state statute. I can't make this.
And it goes.
You really can't make this up, can you?
Yeah, no. But again, design bid build means there's a designer and then there's a bidder and then there's.
I don't think we're making any more clear. So let's go ahead and.
No, we're probably not.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that would like to address the city council?
Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing as Vice Mayor Diaz had mentioned, and I concur with, is the rest of the council okay with having Councilmember Campbell work with Ms. Gary and procurement to come up with something along these lines where we can get some information about what the gold standard is, where it's coming from, what other cities do this, and then bring it back to council for consideration. Are we good with that? Okay, Councilmember Dolan, if you have any feedback. Might have lost him. Okay. All right. Well, I think that we accomplished that. Okay. Moving on to item 8. This is the call to the public. This is where citizens have the opportunity to address the city council on the items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes or less. There will be indicators on the screens below, and we ask that you just address the city council directly.
Okay. I have nothing to do with RFQs or whatever they were. I'm a resident of Lake Havasu City, and I have a dispute with my neighbor. And what I would like you guys to talk about or figure out is why there is no ordinances in the city of Lake Havasu that protect me from my neighbor. She can look into my yard as long as she is not looking into my bedroom or my swimming pool. She can listen to anything that goes on in my yard And we have issues. Not all her issues, not all my issues. But to be recorded in your own yard, to have her have the ability and the right under Lake Havasu City law to record me, there's something wrong with that. And you are all people just like I am, and you wouldn't like it. Granted, I have a problem with my neighbor. Otherwise, probably would never even know that she's recording everything I say. I have had the police at my house 11 times in January. Every single time she had a right to call them, she had a reasonable complaint, but no citations were issued, nothing. But the real issue is her ability to record our conversations in our own yard. I had a hearing yesterday. It was dismissed. But she had discs of conversations that went on between me and the police, my 86-year-old father, in our own yard. And it's all legal in the city of Arizona as long as you're not looking in my bedroom or I don't have little kids in my pool. I have a problem with that. And it's city ordinances that are missing, not state. The state has them, but you would have to go a whole lot further than calling the city police over a camera, looking into your backyard, or a recording of what you're seeing in your own backyard.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm on fire.
Yeah, can you, your name for the record, please?
Sheila Walker.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Walker. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? Yeah, please. Yeah, just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name is Sharon Knapp. I have the same problem. The neighbor has just added another camera. There's 3 cameras on the corner in my backyard. There's one in the center of her wall. At the end, there's one at the end of the driveway. She can see when I leave, when I come back, I could care less. I had 22 people over for a barbecue last Saturday. I had to take a ladder and put my radio next to the cameras so she couldn't videotape me. She can videotape, but she couldn't hear the conversation. I have absolutely no privacy. And then she uses it against me and records it and then charges me for harassment. It's that case is coming up too. We do definitely have a problem with one of the neighbors. And not only that, I know there's another lawsuit against her. So this needs to stop. It needs to stop. I've had the officers 4 times, and the officers just shake their heads because it's nonsense. It's nonsense reports. They're wasting their time running to that neighbor, to that neighbor, to that neighbor, writing these reports when they could be out in the street and helping somebody. It's just senseless for these officers to be wasting their time. But I understand if an officer calls, they have to answer the call. I do understand that. But again, I asked the officer if there's anything. According to the city, she can have the cameras. According to the city, she can do this. She can do this. She can do this. In Lake Havasu, you couldn't have this in any other city. And they said that's true. In another city, this would not be allowed. The only way I can stop this is by taking her to federal court. Federal court does not allow conversation in your own backyard. They do not allow you to videotape the neighbor. Those video cameras are there in case somebody breaks in your house, somebody comes in your house. It's a protection for you, not to be harassed. We need something done. I'm serious, because what is she doing to me? What is she doing to that neighbor? What is she doing to the other people? And it's not going to be stopped. We got to keep going into court over silliness. And so the judge throws it out. There's no end. There's no end. We need to seriously look at this. It could be you next with somebody that's not wrapped too tight. I don't know what the issue is, but nobody would do that to that extreme. For what reason? Why do I want to look in somebody's backyard or in their dining room or their bedroom? What is wrong with that? That's a total harassment. I don't care how you look at it. And then we're told to take it to civil court, take it there, take it here. I will do what I have to do to get this council to get serious about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? You give it to the city clerk. Yeah, thank you. She'll make sure it gets to us.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I really appreciate tonight's meeting. As I said, it's been really fun. And yeah, Bonnie. I don't know. I really enjoyed the work session. And I don't know if I'm going to make it to the next Parks and Rec meeting. And I just wanted to make a few recommendations when it comes to the whole design. You guys were supposed to be getting a parking lot for it. That I thought you guys were going to be replacing the parking lot at Rotary Park over when you put up the new bathroom and the new splash pad. And I don't know how much of the parking lot you're going to be doing, which is really bad. And but my concern is that when you guys go in to redo it, that the parks is like really aware of the fact that there's a lot of sidewalk areas that they should be adjusted. Like they're right over by Ramada A, the bathroom that's over there has a curb. And instead of that curb that goes around right there, it would be really nice if that whole area was just flat and wheelchair accessible and walker accessible and somebody who has a hard time lifting their feet up accessible. And more areas like that throughout the park when you guys go to do the parking lot. That I wanted just to make that recommendation really badly before I forgot. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about if we end this on a nice note, okay? It's been so much fun. I attended the Academy last week. First time, Jerry Bracamani had it well organized. I appreciate the support of our attorney and of our city clerk. It wasn't death by PowerPoint, which is always the possibility when you go to one of these. It was well organized. It was a lot of fun, okay? And, I guess there's 7 more of them to go. Where's Jess? Did he leave? He just left. Oh, he got tired of this. Huh? I was going to say something nice. Anyway, it was great. I got a tour of the building, which I haven't had since it was put up. I can't remember the lady's name, who it was that helped us do that, Ms. Colleen. I mean, this lady knew this building, and I'm an engineer about buildings. I mean, she knew it from one end to the next. There was no question whatsoever that she was here, I guess, every day when it was being built. But it's a great program, and it was done well. There's 7 more of them, if I'm not mistaken, that are going to take place. Like I said, Jerry did a good job, and so did everybody else there. And it was fun. There was some games we got to play, and people got different names. I ended up with cue ball or 8 ball or something like that. I don't give me that name, but anyway. What was that? The Hustler. Yeah, that was me. But it was great. So hopefully that ends this tumultuous evening on a happy note, right? Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? All right, we'll go ahead and close call to the public. Hi, current events. Are there any council committee reports? All right. All right, future meetings. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. It'll be a regular meeting. And then on Tuesday, April 14th at 5:30 p.m., we'll also have a regular meeting. Item 11, are there any future discussion items? Item 12, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here. Be kind. We'll see you next time.